Okay, we are now calling the meeting of the EDC of June 27th, 2022 to order. Mr. Carlos,
All right.
would you please?
Commissioner
restate the-
Talbot,
There.
Commissioner Moons, Commissioner Jacobs,
Here.
Commissioner Zelinski is online virtually.
Here.
Later. All right. And Commissioner Chairman Patterchuck.
I'm here.
And I'll let the minutes reflect that council liaison Gregory Carl is online virtually, along with senior planner Don Doty online virtually. All right.
Fantastic. Okay. Carlos, are we going to follow the agenda as it is, or are we
Yeah.
going to skip around a little bit?
No, we're set to start discussion with Mr. Sansong. If I can just add a little quick information here, part of our discussions have been implementing the business communications plan that was filed by the council in 2020. It furthers our comprehensive plan goals regarding economic development and reaching out to businesses in there. And it has a variety of objectives, streamlining process, expanding awareness, and those items. I won't go out there, but it also encourages the commission to reach out to some of our local businesses and developers and ask the three core questions. How can we help them? What can the city provide? And why they choose all of that? And figured for the convenience of the members that we would reach out and just invite a speaker every month, whether it's a business owner or developer, and come meet and engage with the commission. Tonight we have Michael Sanson with the Ridge House Capital. They were the developer. He represents a developer that was selected for redevelopment of what we call the city center redevelopment area, which is the old city hall, timekeepers, and the Miley building that were at 9473. Of course, he has developed 154 unit apartment complex, and they're going through their final inspections and are looking for opening up by July 1. In there. So just passing through the site this afternoon, landscaping is being placed out there and some artwork. So things are moving and progressing pretty good. Michael, I'm going to bring you back in. And Chairman, do you have any questions?
I was going to go ahead and let the commissioners go ahead and see if they had anything pressing on their mind. Perhaps Mr. Sanson, I'd like to say a few words first on kind of how we got here and what your aspirations are with regards to your development.
Sure. Well, absolutely. Carlos, thank you for the introduction. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, great. I'm on my iPad. I don't do these calls traditionally here, but I was able to break away to my home office away from the kids. So hopefully nobody tries to beat down my door. If they do, I'll just try to ignore them. But no, really do appreciate everybody's time. This has been, we're actually at a very exciting point for our project as we're nearing delivery. As Carlos said, we're gonna, the plan is to move about 30 residents actually in on July 1st. We've got, fortunately, this project is at a point in time where it's really been a successful journey, and not all development projects are like this. When we initially undertook this development and responded to the RFP, but prior to that, engaged in discussions with the city, it was really a collaborative process. It was, how do we build something that is conducive to the marketplace, is something that the city wants, and at the same time can also achieve certain return requirements that investors expect to see when investing in real estate. So we really kind of got around the table and evaluated all three of those items, and really came up with this development. Hold on one second. I've got some feedback in my one headphone, so hold on. Can you all still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And so, really what today is that we call the Oliver was many years worth of work that ultimately led to 151 units in a standalone parking garage that's now developed that you can see driving down Allen Boulevard. with a little over a half acre piece of raw ground that, you know, at some point is going to be a restaurant or some sort of destination, some sort of community type engagement level retail that the city of Olivet would like to see. It's really, I haven't had a chance to really reflect on this development much because it's been, you know, so much of it has been, you know, how to kind of get to the next step and get to a groundbreaking, you know, and it really is amazing to think about kind of where this started and where this is today. You know, it started pre-pandemic. It started pre kind of, you know, interest rate rise that we're experiencing today. It started pre supply chain issues. It started pre inflationary environment. So there's a whole lot of things that kind of exist with this project today that did not exist and frankly weren't even contemplated to exist at the time that we engaged in this transaction. So that is kind of real estate development, and that's the risk of it. You know, we were very fortunate in the sense that we were really able to you know, build this project, lock in contracts, work with subcontractors, acquire materials. You know, for the most part, there were still certain challenges, kind of pre supply chain constraints that we're experiencing now. But you know, by and large, I will say that, you know, this project exceeded all expectations. The leasing velocity has been absolutely tremendous to the point that I mean, I'll just tell you, out of all our projects in our portfolio, this project is leasing up the fastest with the strongest level of interest. You know, we're seeing 20 tours a week. You know, we're seeing 5 to 7 real applications a week. We're seeing average incomes of the renter. The median income is roughly $100,000. We're seeing, which is frankly staggering. We're seeing rental rates in excess of 40% what were originally projected. And you know, that was with third-party market studies. That was with all sort of, you know, the best information that we had available at that time. And it's just, there's many factors on why that is the case. Some are, you know, some factors we have control over, others we don't. They're just really market specific, you know, but by and large, I think that, you know, what this is, you know, if I was in your shoes and I was looking to get some feedback on a development, you know, now that we have hindsight and that benefit, you know, I would really want to kind of understand, you know, what went right. And I'll tell you that, you know, we built a very nice building in an area that had not seen a very nice residential building in quite some time, and the market reacted in a very favorable way. We did not know that was going to happen. We believed that it could happen. But I think it certainly did exceed our expectations. The property, actually, we intended to actually hold this project long term. It is held within an opportunity zone, so there's some tax reasons to hold this for 10 plus years. But the you know, the capital market side of our business, which at the time we break ground on these projects, you know, it's 2 years, 3 years away. You know, ultimately reacted in such a way that, you know, there were buyers that were approaching us wanting to buy this asset. You know, they were aware of the leasing velocity. They were aware of the performance. They were aware of the fundamentals, and they see kind of what's going on, you know, along that Olive corridor in Olivet. You know, so we did choose to sell. That was not the initial intent, but it was a situation where there was an opportunity in the market for us to do so and to do some things that will help our company grow in the future. So, you know, we elected to go down that path. But you know, by and large, this has been a tremendous experience. I'll just add a couple more things before we go into any questions that you all may have. But I had a chance to speak with our construction group before this meeting, just to kind of understand, you know, what was it like, you know, working with the city of Olivet. You know, there's varying departments, and there's you know, there's a lot of coordination that needs to go on. And you know, what is it like compared to other municipalities, other cities, other agencies, whatever it may be. And I would say that overwhelmingly, you know, I got a very, very positive response on our construction people interacting with the building department staff. It was efficient, it was quick. They worked together when there were issues, they worked together to get them resolved. Nothing was really ever adversarial. There was open communication. There was quick feedback, so I think that, this project was certainly successful for our company, and I really hope that it was successful for the city of Olivet. At the time that we engaged in this project, excuse me, it really felt like we were the tip of the spear. And since starting, and since now where we are today, there's obviously other projects that are falling behind. And I think that, hopefully this was, part of the igniter that the city of Olivet wanted to see. Hopefully it achieved, some of the goals that the city of Olivet wanted to see by subsidizing this development as well. It's important that that's, considered here, because, I think that hopefully a goal for any municipality that feels that there's subsidy involved in order to induce business or commerce in their locale, that it reaches a critical point where subsidy is no longer required. And I will tell you that this project, is I think a really good test case that, projects, assuming things stay, somewhat reasonable in the construction cost world and land cost world and interest rate world, that we're going to be in that the city of Olivet's really in a position where they probably don't have to entice developers to develop future projects, that the market fundamentals are there. Now, this is one project, but it has been very successful.
That sounds great. I'm going to open it up to the commission to see if anybody has any burning questions or comments.
I don't have a burning question. I do have a question about what do you think could have gone better? Because this commission's goal is to entice and attract business and investment. And it's great to hear favorable feedback like you're providing. What opportunities still existed throughout this? Because I was here at the beginning of this thing, and now I love seeing it up, and it really does complement the streetscape the way we wanted it to. But as you look back on this, what opportunities do you think you could have done better as a city?
I really want to be constructive here and provide helpful feedback. And, I've had the opportunity in the last year to work in several different cities and municipalities as well, different states, different regions, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that the city of Olivet is probably been, I don't want to say the easiest, but the most helpful group to work with. The kind of the pro business or the pro development nature, of council, of Carlos, of Barb and their team. It was authentic, and there was a level of trust and commitment to see us succeed that really was felt all the way through. So that is the absolute truth. I asked my team, what was something that they could change, because I figured, I was going to be asked questions like this, and the purpose of these meetings, like you said, are really like, how do we make this better? How do we continue to entice, future business? The one thing, which in my world is just simply not a big deal, but the one comment that did come up was how the City of Olivet Public Works Department interacts with MoDOT and Ameren and other agencies like that. That was the only, relatively, inefficient engagement that occurred in the process. And I'll tell you, to hear that on a development deal that's a complete A+ to have one complaint. So, not meant to throw anybody under the bus, but just, if there's an area that, maybe could be looked at, it would be that.
Yeah, we would love to use a quote like you just provided us too, in talking with other developers in the future. Because we all have, a lot of us have businesses in other communities here in the St. Louis region, and I can tell you, Maryland Heights is no cakewalk to work with.
And the city of St. Louis is not either.
Yeah. So,
No.
It would be great to kind of document, codify some of the comments.
I'm having trouble hearing you all. I apologize.
I'm basically mumbling also.
Yeah, make sure you have
Is it
your
on or off?
microphone on.
Oh, I had turned mine off thinking that it was on.
Okay.
Sorry about that. But yeah,
No,
we
that's
would
okay.
love to have some of those comments solidified in a way, if you don't mind us sharing it with other people that come and meet with this commission, just to give them the confidence, because you're right, there hasn't been this level of residential investment in the Olivet corridor in decades, right?
No, and you guys are, and I'd be happy to, I mean, I'll put that in writing. I'll send an email, whatever you need. I'll answer a question, whatever you guys need. I'll put that on the
We
record.
have a
I'm happy to do
billboard
it.
designed with your face on
You
it.
can,
That would
no
just
face,
become-
only words. No, but I'll tell you, as a developer, what we look to, when I go into other markets and we're looking at other projects and things like that, I mean, the number one thing that someone does in my shoes, is they're looking at comparables. They're going to say, when this project was built, how quickly was it leased up? What rental rates was it leased up for? Who's kind of the renter profile? What type of income was a renter? How much level of discretionary spending do they have? What sort of education level do they have? And I'll tell you, and really, I did not expect this to go as well as it did. It's checked every single box. I don't know how a project like this, when the marketplace starts to uncover it, the market doesn't react to it. I mean, there already are developers that are obviously coming on the heels of this project. There are developers that had things planned well before this project that are engaging in construction efforts. I'd be shocked if, when the word really gets out to the marketplace on just the fundamentals of this project, that you're not going to be fielding phone calls from other people looking to build here. I'd be absolutely shocked. To the point that we're looking for other opportunities currently.
We don't want you to sugarcoat it. But seriously, actually, Michael, if it's Rod Pattershuk, we've got a couple of new people on the commission since you were last introduced, and we went through the process of evaluating your development. Perhaps you can tell a little bit about where you're located, where some of your projects are located, and maybe what you see in the future here.
Sure. No, I'd be happy to. So my company is Ridge House Capital. We're located in St. Louis, headquartered in Brentwood. The Olivet project is actually currently our last project in St. Louis. It's not intended. It's just that there aren't other opportunities that we've been able to uncover. But we're a wood frame multifamily developer that operates in the Phoenix marketplace, obviously St. Louis, Nashville, Huntsville, Alabama, Charlotte, North Carolina, Knoxville, Tennessee, and soon to be Chattanooga. So kind of a Southwest, Southeast focus. And then of course, St. Louis being that's where home is. We're vertically integrated. We have an in-house construction company. Our in-house general contracting company did build the Oliver. They build all of our projects. It's a wholly owned subsidiary of our firm. We currently have roughly 1,200 units under construction right now in the varying markets that I said, with about 2,500 units more to follow in 2023, 2024. We're very, there's a tremendous amount of change that is happening in our business right now, that has been happening over the last year. But ultimately, I would say that I am still bullish. I do sense opportunity. There's tremendous headwinds in the sense that, we do have a rising interest rate environment. We continue to have construction cost increases, inflation, labor shortages. There's, a continued challenge to find, properties that are zoned and entitled for multifamily use, because a lot of municipalities, cities, states, regions, I think have a little bit of apartment multifamily type fatigue. But the headwinds that we have, or excuse me, the tailwinds that we have, suggests that home ownership is getting a little harder, or not a little harder. It's simply harder. The inventory continues to be at all-time lows. Now we have a situation where interest rate increases, are putting mortgages out of reach. We have rising home prices. So ultimately that is going to be kind of an increased renter pool. But really the mission of our business was not necessarily to try to, capture the renter by necessity. The initial kind of business plan around our business was really capture that renter by choice. The people that are, no longer interested in home ownership, people that are no longer, wanting, maintenance or looking for a maintenance-free lifestyle. And that could be the young professional, or that could be the retiree, or really anyone in between. But those are two kind of typical demographics that we see in our projects. So kind of in a long roundabout way, I am bullish on the multifamily industry. I'm bullish on the housing industry in general and developing housing. I think, nationally, these are large macroeconomic trends. I mean, we are roughly 4 million households short currently. and in certain markets that we're in, it's becoming an issue. I mean, I will tell you, based upon the velocity of lease up that we had here, I mean, we're opening this project July 1 at 62% occupied. We projected that we were going to be 62% occupied 7 months into this project once it opened. And we're 62% occupied a week before we open, or 3 days before we open. So, right there at rents that are, again, 40% in excess of what were previously underwritten. So, I mean, that shows you right there. I mean, there is massive demand for this type of product. So, and we're really seeing that across the board in all markets that we're in. This one certainly had a velocity to it that was atypical. But we are seeing good things, provided that, again, materials are available and not cost prohibitive. Labor's available. Supply chain's not an issue, and interest rates stay somewhat in line. It's a lot of stuff that has to go right, though.
When is all of that going to happen?
I don't know. It's not happened yet. We've got rising. Everything's rising. I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, we follow these various indexes and things like that. Not to bore anybody, but there's certain commodities, trades, materials that we look at to kind of help paint a picture on what the future may hold. And for the last 12, 14 months, I mean, it's been sharply moving up. Everything's been an upward trend. Lumber's been up, copper's been up, aluminum's been up, brick's been up, labor's been up. Commodities have been, everything up, everything. And it was just like week after week after week after week. And now we're starting to look at a point where we're starting to see some serious declines. Because housing construction starts are down. Multifamily starts were down from April to June. So I think we are starting to see a little bit of a pullback to where I think that some of the things that I just mentioned are going to soften. Now, interest rates, they're going to continue to, it's already been communicated that there's some rate hikes ahead, but it's ultimately, are they temporary? Are they here to stay? Are they somewhat transitory? We'll just have to see. But that's just one piece to a much, much bigger puzzle.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Anybody else have any questions?
I do not.
Actually, go ahead.
No, I don't have it.
Oh, you said you don't.
No, I do not. I'm just taking it all in.
Gotcha. Hey there, Spencer Talbot here. I missed, and I apologize, what you initially said about the retail parcel that's in front of it. Can you give us an idea of what kind of interest you're getting there, if any, and if you've been approached yet?
Yeah, so that's been, I would say if there's a negative on the project, that would be it. There's been, there's really been there's not much interest in it. And I think a lot of, the reason for that is our initial focus on that pad was to put some sort of quick service restaurant there, non-drive-through, a place to go sit down, a place to go eat, a place to go have a patio, and I think a lot of the folks that are going to open a location like that are somewhat local in nature. And as a result, they're still climbing out of the pandemic. I think COVID hit those types of businesses. Well, not I think COVID hit those types of businesses rather hard. I also think that it hasn't helped that it's been a construction staging environment this whole time. So I think once that it's cleaned up, it's properly marketed, there's clearly tenants in the building that are moving around. I do think that we're going to start to gather or garner some more interest. It just, at this point in time, there has been a lack of interest. I think it'll be a better question to ask though in about 3 to 6 months.
That actually was the purpose of my question, because I somewhat anticipated that to be the issue. So
yeah.
No, I get it.
Great.
One question with regards to that, with regards to what you're envisioning there of a sit down sort of fast casual restaurant, is the parking available in your parking garage for that facility?
It is not available, but we have 10 per 1,000. So we've got that's a tremendous amount of parking that accommodates that use. That was something that we evaluated with council very carefully and planning during the process.
Actually, this is a little bit off the board here, but with your expertise in multifamily and being in a lot of different markets, given the demographic that you're serving and what you're attracting into this development, how do you see low income housing and that sort of thing coming into the mix in an area like all of that? And this is not necessarily something like an EDC question, but it comes to like overall planning, in the future, because all of that is a fairly diverse community.
Sure. No, I think that's a great question. So, I mean, this is becoming more and more prevalent when discussing, new developments with city officials, council members, aldermen, district members, and there's kind of two distinctions to that. The way I look at it, one, you have kind of federal and then state level programs like the LIHTC program, the lower income housing tax credit program, which is rather political, rather kind of it's nuanced to the point to where it's almost the folks that specialize in that are almost not in the real estate development business, but rather they are in the lower income housing tax credit development business, where they know the powers to be to get those credits. And it's challenging to go into infill environments that have a mixed income group of people, where you have a contingent of people that have the ability to afford market rate, and then you have a contingent of people that don't have the ability to afford market rate. So that kind of, in a situation like this, kind of rules out the lower income housing tax credit program. So then it really comes down to, is this important to the city to allow to produce affordable housing, and that, or workforce housing? That's kind of another way to describe it. And what we're seeing happen is that where it's been successful, for example, we're doing a deal in Knoxville where we are developing, I want to say 185 units, and we are required to put 15% of our units as 60, I believe the rent has to be 60% of the average median income, which, in terms means it's affordable. And it goes to people that can only simply afford that. They can't afford more. But in lieu of that, they're giving us, some sort of tax abatement through a pilot program, or some other mechanism to kind of help subsidize that. And that's something that stays on the property for, I believe it's some sort of deed restriction for a 25-year period of time. I can certainly go back and look at that. And I will tell you that on something like that, the numbers work. To simply go and, where construction costs are today, rents have to be rising at a fairly strong clip in order to keep pace with that, because yields have compressed. But I would say so to just say the only way we're going to allow for, the housing to exist is it has to be affordable, I think it's very challenging. I think it's to the point that it's too cumbersome for a deal to actually work. But when there's a hybrid approach and there's a percentage available when the city is involved and kind of in lockstep with the developer, then that seems to be a successful model. And then I'll also say too, when there's a situation where, let's say the project kind of, exceeds the initial financial performance, there's some sort of sharing in that. Where one needs to be careful though is if it falls below the expected financial performance, what happens there. So I think it's trying to increase the partnership between the developer and the community. Sorry, that's a very long-winded answer. So it's basically hybrid development.
No, I kind of expected that because like you say, it's a very complicated subject.
It is.
The other thing is, first of all, kind of premature congratulations on so far the success you've had here, because I've looked at the number of units that have come on within kind of the central corridor here, the Creve Coeur through Clayton area, even into Central West End. And there's been a tremendous amount of units come on in the last 5-7 years. And it's great to see that this is working out for you. And we do have a number of units coming on within all of that relatively shortly too. So hopefully this does speak to a good outcome for those developments as well. Anybody else got any-
Absolutely.
I do have a few questions, Rod.
Carl. Councilman Carl.
So, I don't want to interrupt the commissioners though. Are you guys ready?
Go ahead.
Okay. So Mr. Sansone, first, as a city council representative, I would like to thank you for taking the time to make, to talk to us like this. I found it hugely informative. So I really do appreciate that you put in this effort to work and that you've worked with us all along. I mean, we see that. So
Of course. No, thank you.
but my question revolves around, so I know you made a deal change because we are in an opportunity zone on the north side of Olive. And I have always thought that was some kind of an advantage, but I've never been to articulate it well. And
Sure.
so from your perspective or your investor's perspective, could you talk about how the opportunity zone may influence your decision to invest?
Yeah, absolutely. And it did have an impact on our investment. It was not the reason for our investment. And I think kind of the overarching theme for opportunity zones is that it makes a good deal better. It doesn't make a bad deal good. Okay. To where I think what it does is it doesn't fundamentally change the return of the project. If your rents are X and your expenses are Y, your income is still X minus Y, whether you're in opportunity zone or not. Where it does change though is for us to go and do these developments, we have to go raise money and we borrow some money from a bank and then we raise money from whether it's an investment fund, whether it's a large wealth management practice, whether it's a real estate fund, an investment bank, whatever it may be. And what opportunity zones have done is that it's created more liquidity in the multifamily marketplace. That's really what it's done. So our access to capital has just simply become a little bit easier because of the tax advantages that those investors have by investing in an opportunity zone. And the main advantages that they get. So for me as a developer, it doesn't change a whole lot other than I have more people to talk to invest into it, which is, don't get me wrong, extremely helpful. But as an investor, what you were to get if you were to invest in an opportunity zone, if you had a capital gain, whether you sold some stock, whether you sold a business, sold a property, whatever it is, if you had a capital gain, I'm going to simplify this just to not bore everybody. You get an initial step up in basis, you get a tax deferral, but really the kicker is that if you hold that property for 10 years and you sell that for a profit, your profit is completely tax-free on a federal income tax level and a state income tax level. And that's really the benefit that people to see here is you get to park money in a good asset, in a good location, in a good area. And one day when you take it out and you make a profit, hopefully, because things go well, you don't have to pay taxes on that profit.
Okay.
That's the major impact that it has.
So you would say that it was more of an enticement for investors than the actual developers?
Correct. The developer doesn't, unless the developer is a, self-capitalized developer, which very few of us are.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's really more for the investor.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Sure.
you, Rod.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Rod.
Absolutely.
Nothing else from commissioners. Planner Doty or Director Trejo, or any comments?
Got Nate. I don't have.
Oh,
any.
Nate, yeah. Your
Hi, Nate.
picture's not coming up there, but didn't know if you had any comments.
No, this has been great conversation and you guys have covered a lot of stuff. So I'm good right now.
No, I greatly appreciate Michael coming and speaking.
Actually, it's
I know
great.
it's a busy time too, as they're trying to wrap up.
Yeah.
Appreciate that again.
No, great to hear this level of detail. It really is. And especially when we've been looking at this for a couple of years and see it come to
Sure.
fruition. Thank you for.
Well, we sincerely appreciate all of your support, the city support. So thank you very much. And thank you for taking this level of interest. And I'm happy to share material, answer any questions, revisit with all of you if that's something you all would be interested in. So really do appreciate the time.
Thanks so much.
We appreciate that too, that you're willing to continue to work with us. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah, no, absolutely. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks again.
Bye,
Have a
thank
good
you.
night.
All right. Have a good night. See you. Bye.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Question, go ahead.
Did he, at some point, say he did, even though they didn't want to sell it, they did sell it? I thought that's what he said.
Yes.
So if they sold it, do they still manage it?
Probably that could be.
Maybe, but. I don't want to put words in their mouth. but
Right.
they don't know.
So if they sold it, he still has to finish the project.
Well, they're the developer. They're the contractor.
Oh, the contractor,
So,
right, right.
At the end of the day, yeah, they'll finish that project, but, my guess is obviously I don't want to liken this and to what I've been going through, but. all of
Somebody, could you turn your mic on?
Sure, sorry about that. All of those apartments up and down Olive have garnered so much interest because of this project that I can only, and I'm just speaking from my personal experience, not his. All of the contacts I've had just trying to get sort of in the, and the names are slipping me right now, but the one that's right before it, off to the right-hand side.
Mhm.
Apple
Like
tree.
Eden Rock and.
Yes,
Apple
yeah,
Tree,
thank you. It's like it's slipping me right out. All of those, that interest has come from mostly Florida, New York, California investors, as well as some overseas. So,
So do the investors?
I'm
wanna
guessing
buy
they're
the
probably
property
not
and
looking.
Redevelop it? Or just
No, that
buy
would
it
be,
and-
this one would, to financially make sense for them. If
Right, but
they're
I
buying
mean,
now
like
would be a
Eden
buy
Rock
hold.
or-
Oh, those, yes, well,
Would they
they're
tear them down and?
they're
build
what we
them
call value add. So actually, usually when they're that large, they're in bad enough shape that they can be renovated and raise the rents. And the whole point of that is they're feeding off of people who can't afford this project, having somewhere in between to go.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you
Yeah.
for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Spencer, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Oh, and also did it come with the lifetime pass for
The
city
pool.
people to use that pool? Since we're not
You're
apparently gonna have
really
community pool.
invested in the pool. Yeah, no, I doubt it.
Just thought I'd ask. I wanted to provide value to my neighbors because that's why I'm here. I represent my neighbors.
It's approximately where the jail cells used to be.
Perfect,
So,
perfect.
The old City Hall jail.
right.
That's amazing.
Can I ask a question?
What, David, you never spent time in one of those?
Just know where they
Not
are.
that one.
Just know where they are.
Not that one.
Hey, what the financial deal we gave them was based on a pro forma financial structure with certain rental rates and certain occupancy rate based on a timeline.
Mhm.
He's wildly exceeded both of those. Is there any way we can claw back some of the generosity that we provided? Like, I can't remember exactly how it was structured. But if they had modeled out occupancy 7 months in at 62, and on day one, they're at 62, and rents are 40% higher than they had originally modeled, like, I remember the argument over this property.
Yeah,
It
but
was like,
building costs are also up exponentially too.
he said he
Right.
secured his materials before they saw supply chain challenges.
And the rental rates are a stake in the ground, which hopefully will appreciate over time.
Sure.
These
I
were
mean, they
things
don't-
we argued in detail, the assumptions tied to,
Yes.
Nate, you remember this? The assumptions tied to the financial model of this program. And they were saying, well, we only think we can get X, and now they're getting 40% higher than X. And that was tied.
Yeah,
to-
but I feel like every one of these deals that we've done, we've always said that their assumptions on the revenue side are always way too low, right?
Right.
Like that just
40%.
seems to be the natural part of it. But to your point, that it seems like it's gangbusters over the conservative projections they had when they first gave it to us. I don't know what that means in terms of recouping anything or expediting anything on the deal, though. That's probably more of a legal question, I guess.
Yeah,
Well-
our lawyer is not on this meeting.
And I would, not having been involved in any of this, I'm just speculating at the moment. But wouldn't that have to be structured into the deal? Like if you exceed, and if it wasn't structured in, which I'm guessing, who would have who would have expected things to go the way they did? But now that we know they could, in future deals, that would be a thing. If you exceed by X amount, you gotta give us the money back. Or
I
some,
think we've put in
very-
stipulations in the past.
Yes, we have, but I will say this, I mean,
Um,
your point, is, like, well taken, and I think, you know, somehow we should really understand this a little bit better, but, a lot of our discussion was around market and with regards to what this area could support on a rent per square foot basis.
And we went out, you remember, you and I went out, you called people, we shopped around to the different new apartments and we came back to this team and said, here's our data. And they're like, oh, we think your data is too high because this is on Olive, this isn't tucked back there, and now it's coming back. I mean, congratulations to them, right? But as a city, I think it's our fiduciary responsibility to evaluate this and go, listen, did we get taken a little bit on this one?
Well, I tell you what, in defense of the decision that we made.
3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and looking at, first of all, this is pre-COVID. And it was also pre-inflation, pre-supply chain, and pre-housing shortage. Actually, that housing shortage has been building for a long time.
yeah, it just
And I think that,
exploded.
if there was any card that they may have been holding back with regards to that, was potentially they were seeing a number, like I've been through a number of presentations where you know, it was probably 5 years ago where I sat through a presentation in the Clayton area, and they were saying, we have like, there's 3,000 or 4,000 units coming on, and our consultants are saying Clayton can absorb another 5,000, and everybody, it was a room full of realtors, first of all, their jaw dropped because interest rates were low, and, you know, based on the rental rates, we could sell houses to them in that market at less than what they're renting for. But
That's the case now too, almost.
it's starting
about
to,
to shift.
yeah.
Pretty
Hard.
it is,
even.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
catching up. It's
Mhm.
it's starting to flip a little bit, but it's not really quite there yet. But there has been a tremendous amount of change in that. period.
The notable thing I picked up on, just sort of on that note, was they're investing and have invested outside of St. Louis. St. Louis is home. We all know obviously why. But the Southeast specifically is having that issue. I mean, Nashville, for instance, if you're working even in the suburbs of Nashville, it's exploding.
Oh, right.
I lived there for 10 years, well, 11 years, even when it was exploding then, but not to the level that it is now. When I go back, it kind of blows my mind. So just out of sheer curiosity, I still subscribe to their business journal, you know, to kind of keep up with it. But point being is that their housing market, as wild as it's went, their rental market is actually higher than, has flipped, meaning their housing market has exploded so badly that you know, it's not crazy for someone to pay $3,500 for a unit because the house that's most comparable is a box in the middle of maybe a not so great area. Yeah, essentially, or very far out. So we're not there. And again, I'm just stabbing at things, but it's part of my excitement when I moved over here was, I mean, you all know, I came from the opposite side of town and begging developers to take a stab at something, and then that would fall apart and you try another one. Is we don't have a lot of land.
Right.
So the opportunity zone is huge because there's, you know, we have a postage stamp of a square of a town to work with, and we don't make any more land. So I'm not shocked they jumped on this at all, let alone. But going forward, though, I think he's right. We probably should take a review of what subsidies were offered so that when we're presented for, I don't know, let's say a bowling alley tear down or something, you know, to be redeveloped.
We love our bowling alley.
You know, I'm kidding. But to be redeveloped, we can sort of leverage the ridiculous, and I don't want to say ridiculous in a bad way, but just 40% is huge. Like that's a huge surplus.
He even mentioned in his presentation that
Can you guys turn on your mics?
mine is on. I'm just not talking. into it.
Sorry, I was
Scotty.
probably put
Sorry.
my arm to it. I apologize.
Wait, Nate, do you have a question? I'll see your hands raised.
I mean, the devil's advocate side of this is, yeah, like they got a great deal going on, but for us, I mean, we've got better residents in a quicker time frame, bringing economic development to the city. So we're not
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
losing out on this. So we don't
No.
want to lose sight of that as well.
I miss throwing bricks through that restaurant windows, you know, that were.
The only point I was trying to make though is that even he said, thank you for being so generous to me. And I'm hoping that by being generous to me and me giving you a great development,
Mhm.
you won't have to do that so much in the future.
Well,
Yeah.
and
That
He said those words. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
he
right.
did.
He said
He did.
those words.
with regards to that, most of us, some of us have been around long enough to remember Mama's Restaurant and what is there now. Right at the
Yes.
corner of Price. Now.
Yeah.
Up until that time, there was not a lot of development that was happening. We did some incentives there. And we said, yes, we do need to prove to developers that we are willing to work with developers. So we had to put those enticements out there. Nothing has happened, and that was in 2007. And really, this is the first development since that time to be completed. And
Since
you
Price
know,
Crossing?
since Price Crossing. Now, we've had a flurry of other things going on, and not everything has asked for or needed any subsidies or any enticement. So,
Are
so
we
what we're trying to
subsidizing
do.
and enticing the other development? How much of an enticement is in there?
In which one?
When you
I don't
say,
know what it's called.
The Opus,
The one on the other side of Price.
oh, the.
the
the
big
one-
development.
the one behind.
Courtyard.
CVS?
I don't know what it's, no.
Oh, the.
The-
where Office Max used to be.
Yes, that one.
Okay, so yes, they have a TIF and a SID in there. And ultimately, and I'd have to check where this development received a tax abatement.
Uh-huh.
Through the TIF process, all the, you know,
All
if their values exceed what their performance identified, they get to close that sooner, and then that brings that back into the
Right.
to the
right,
tax
right,
system. So
right.
there's an incentive to do better
Sure.
in that process. I have to check on a tax abatement. It's a good question. I just don't want to
Actually,
answer and then be incorrect. Yeah,
actually,
I haven't
on the abatement situation, the shops at Price Crossing, we're on target or have hit targets before, before that time, and that's been a benefit to the city.
Absolutely. And that one just closed within the past year or
The
two.
TIF.
It was an abatement.
An
It was a
abatement,
tax
okay.
abatement.
Maybe that's
So,
what it
so
was.
all the taxing districts, the city, the school district, special school district, the library, the zoo and all that stuff, they all benefit from that too.
Right.
And I might be using some revisionist history here, like this was a while ago and there was just vacant land all across Olive and now we have all this development going on. And
Thanks,
so
no- and no
we
small
were
parks.
really happy because when the condos fell through on developing this, not the condos, the townhomes fell through.
On this
Like,
property?
Yeah, on this
Mhm.
property, we're all sort of staring at each other going, well, what are we gonna do here, right? I mean, that was the general sense at that point in time. And then the Oliver came in and everyone's like, okay, and Timekeepers is getting torn down, perfect.
Okay, I just I don't know if he said this, and I'm sorry for you guys to repeat things if you probably talked about it for 3 years, but
No, it's
What-
actually good for us to just
what
revisit
is
this.
the rent for this? What are the units and what is the rent? Because it looks from these pictures that the units themselves are very tiny.
I can't remember the mix of
Yeah, there-
1, 2, and 3 bedrooms.
We
Oh, there
went
are
through
some
all that,
bigger ones.
yes.
'Cause
Yeah, yeah.
Look at these pictures on here. Don't they look kind of small?
There were
Look at the
the
kitchen.
analysis that we had done through our consultants projected that on the high end, they could get a $1.70 a square foot.
Okay, what does that translate to?
So that was coming into like about 11 to 14
For a,
for like a
studio.
one bedroom, I
One
think,
bedroom.
and all that. I may have my
Okay.
numbers wrong.
Actually,
No,
it was-
I-
it was
go
a-
ahead.
it was quite, I think it was quite a bit higher than that. I think it was,
Pre-core was, that we were being told was getting $2 to 2 something.
wow.
That's what I
Oh,
was
yeah.
gonna say, because I can't speak to this because I haven't reviewed their numbers, but I know that the View and the other one that flank each side of the theater. Though the one bedrooms are somewhere around 1,600 and the largest 2 bedrooms, and the reason I know this is because my ex just moved out of one. You know,
And I had to write the check.
she moved into all of that since we got her taxes now. Anyway, they paid $24.50 for a small bed, and they're about the size.
Oh, my goodness.
$24.50 for a 2-bedroom unit with
And-
all of the same amenities. So they knew what they were building because I mean, again, it's what, 2 miles, I think, to get to the first complex. So, yeah.
2 miles from where to where?
I meant from here to those similar apartments, similar complex in Creve Coeur.
gotcha. I understand
Sorry.
what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. This is just a flow over because those 2 buildings stay at capacity.
Wow.
I
that's
happen,
awesome.
I just happen to know the developer that built those.
He
and
didn't
So I just know
develop
more
those.
about them. No. But that was their direct
That was their comp,
comp to
Got
know, to anticipate what was going to
which
happen.
is the data we used in that discussion 3 years ago.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
You are correct, sir.
Thanks for the clarification.
But
I think it's something we can, I can reach out with Ms. Sondag and there's a recognition of it, and I'm not sure how much was within that last council.
I guess I know a little bit more, but I'm not sure whether I was told in open or closed session.
Yeah,
So
Oh, you better not bring it up.
There's some-
there.
Yeah, so I'm
There was some
kind of
recognition.
hesitating to say
What
it,
you indicated, Mr. Moon.
but it has been discussed. I'll leave it at this. It has been discussed at council and we're looking into it. How's
Oh,
that?
okay.
What are we
Good.
looking into? Getting some of that money back?
Well, actually, you know what, some of this stuff probably should be discussed in closed session.
Yeah.
Come to think of it. Um,
Well,
With
this
regards
is
to,
just a speculative conversation.
no, I understand. And I do know some things about the part otherwise with regards to the incentives given.
We don't need to.
Well,
discuss those in
because
open
it's not, well,
meeting.
it's open information. One of the big issues with valuation of that property for sale was that it was a public property.
Right,
And it was difficult to
evaluate.
basically evaluate and figure on what the increased taxes would be once it switched over to a corporate ownership entity
Mhm,
with high density housing on it.
mhm.
And we had a lot of discussions with regards to that too. So ultimately, I would have to say this for public record. We covered a lot of bases on this. We dragged this one a lot. There was a lot of spreadsheets, et cetera.
And the one thing I will point out is, we got out of this, we got a huge testimonial as well as evidence that we can command those kind of rents. And lease up a building 67% before it opens. I think if that, that gets out, that's invaluable publicity. So, I would like to see us a little bit gather directly from the profits, but at the same time, I got a feeling we're still going to see a good benefit from this. So,
And if it entices somebody to come in and redo some properties that are in desperate need of being redone, and we don't have to give them incentives, and that's great, especially if those properties still provide housing to people who maybe can't afford, like you said, like they can't move into the element. Because that is also, I believe we've talked about that in here, that is something we are focused on is affordable housing, right?
yes.
Serving the community in its
Yep.
entirety.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
And as well, there is the spillover effects, and we've talked about this ad nauseum as well. And this is a great testimonial to use because as soon as like he mentioned that the average income of the residents that are signing up is over $100,000 or thereabouts. That is great for Diamond Store.
Right, right,
Other,
right.
bringing other businesses where people would have disposable income to spend within our borders.
Right.
And that would entice people and businesses to come here that wanted to set up retail.
Yeah, and don't forget, there is also not yet completed, but well underway, those 2 ginormous developments down at 170. So people want to live close to those sorts of amenities, and that's great.
That's right.
Great.
Okay, the discussion is exhausted on this. I
Well,
tell
I
you-
don't know about discussion, but I'm exhausted.
That's why we bring you here. Just as a matter of record, we didn't do any public comments because Mr. Sandstone was ready at the beginning. We do not have anyone online, Carlos?
No.
Okay, and as we can see, there's no one in the audience. We'd love to have you come see your smiling face sometime. Okay, next issue.
One, just any updates on as members, any outreach efforts. Again, and that's why we came up with the idea that we bring somebody.
That's
I think
much
it worked better, you know, and
I gotta tell you, it's like pulling teeth talking to some of these people. And I think finding someone like a Michael Sansone who can speak in depth about the city, because some of these people, like, I'm a business owner in Maryland Heights. If you ask me about the city, I'm like, I don't know. The fire inspector shows up once a year. Like, I have nothing good nor bad to say, but someone like a Yowitz or Michael Sansone or other people that are developing and investing in the community versus just running a business, I think it would be great to have them on, and they might want to be on to talk to people like us.
When my business was in Webster, I had plenty of opportunity to have interaction with the city, not like you do when you're doing a development where you're talking to the city or someone from the city every day, practically. But you still know whether or not the city's doing things that make keeping your business there easy or hard, right? Opening my business in the city has really opened my eyes to that, because every time I turn around, can I have some money for that, please? Every single thing requires a permit, money. It's kind of crazy. So, so I'm sure that there's times you're just not really giving it much specific thought in your business in Maryland Heights. I'm sure there's plenty of times when you were like, you don't notice it because it went very smooth.
Maybe.
Turn your mic on.
I'll just add that it is difficult just to go schedule meetings, et cetera. I've just taken the opportunity, like to say, for example, dropped laundry off at the new American Cleaners and
Right.
found out they've been on there for 3 months and they're very happy. They moved from Jeffrey Plaza down the street, which is now being raised for the new Costco development. They are extremely happy. I did not visit that location before
Right?
they moved. I noticed that they were there, saw the big sign out there, and I thought I could use a few things clean.
Right.
So I had the opportunity to talk to them, and they, just again, kind of like Councilman Moon or Commissioner Moon said, it's difficult. It's kind of pulling teeth. They're very happy when you kind of spring yourself on them a little bit like that, but it's just sort of take the opportunity. Again, maybe that's a good way for all of us to visit a few Olivet businesses now and again.
yep.
I need to do better at actually asking those questions whenever I'm there. I would be interested, actually, have we, and that's what you're asking us to do. I get this next question, but have we reached out to any of the local restaurants just to see if they've seen an upswing in attendance? I mean, in patrons, just as simple as the Chevys. It's like who we talked to, the general manager, I guess, probably. But the Chevys or Fallon's, just
Well,
to see if there's, I mean, because they have the issue of obviously
well, every
employment stuff
restaurant, I
too.
mean, I speak from being in this industry,
Sure.
right? Every restaurant, of course, has seen an upswing this year over last year.
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
Every restaurant. And the problem is that all of us who don't own restaurants want to go out and spend
Mhm.
money and be with our friends and be with our people, but there's nobody to serve us
Right.
or to cook our dinner. And I've had plenty of restaurant friends who just said, I have to close Saturday night because I do not have staff. They have to close on a Saturday night
Mhm.
because they can't staff their restaurant or their kitchen. So that's, you're gonna find that to be the case and that's also actually been part of my hesitancy to go in there, is not as a patron, but as a,
Sure.
tell me about your business.
Yeah, because they don't have time to tell you anything
Yeah,
because they're
just, you
doing
don't-
4
you wanna know
people's
about my
job. Yeah.
business? Can you find me 3 kids that'll wait on tables? Yeah.
Without, I had actually a lot of that conversation with the business in Creve Coeur that I represented way back when in the city, and they just did a different model. It's taken them a lot longer, but because they were very trepidatious to go as far out in their mind, far out as Creve Coeur. I wish I could have caught them before they decided to do it as an opportunity. But my point with all of that being is that their specific kind of restaurant has seen a lot of traction. They've had a lot of people, mostly because nothing like it exists around them. So they've
Did you
actually
say
been
fine
really
dining
successful.
place that went into a
It's
small.
Timothy's, but
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so I guess my thought was, do we have any kind of a poll or community survey of like from residents of what they're wanting? I
yeah.
remember when we came in,
Well, we
or
did.
when I came in.
We used to. I
Yeah.
don't know how old it is.
I was like, that's my question, is how recent is that? Not just with
I've been
restaurants
on
to
city
speak of,
council
but
for
what they're
20
seeking.
years.
I think
It's-
Carlos may have some answers to
The-
that later in the agenda.
Yeah, I think, and that's part of the city is funding an update to its comprehensive plan, which will have another community outreach effort to gather public, resident opinion on the types of businesses.
But they say it, I
The last big one was in 2006 when we
Right.
put the plan together. But there were supplemental updates and outreach efforts that were done in part of the catalyst strategy, which kind of led to the Oliver. There were efforts there talking about, business types and the term curating tenants,
Mhm.
popped up, it became the top term of the city to starting to pursue that or be more active in that process. Which needs us to hear is understanding what the business needs are and then being able to go back out there and get those recruited. So we're getting there. Well, we're there, we're updating what we
Okay.
had.
Great.
That's a good question.
I would just say this on business outreach, do what you can.
Sure.
Just
Okay.
sort of, if there's a business that you're really, really interested in, a great opportunity
not
for
gonna
you. I think assigning things is a little difficult to do, maybe, even if you get hit up by a couple of commissioners, that's not bad, not that big a deal.
And,
Just try and get some
shows that
data
you're-
back.
The city's interested in what you're doing, so that.
Mhm.
You wouldn't you want to know that they were cared enough about you to ask? I mean, I would.
Yeah.
I'd be a little nervous if they showed up.
That,
Other than that, it'd be fine.
that was my only question. I was like, do they get nervous with that the city's interested in what they're doing? Because I know that.
Just don't use the line, we're from the government.
Sure, yeah.
Especially not now.
We're from the city.
So, if I can ask, so for the next one, I thought inviting Mr. Yowitz, but again, trying to get back to, is you prefer to hear for those investing in the community or those that are in the business, or operating businesses within the community? Because it's easy to go ask somebody from, whether it's Fallon's or, St. Louis Dance Academy or 316 Cards just to come in and give us, but I don't want to find out what you
who
would
can we
feel
get?
would be most productive.
Who can we get?
Well, what is
So
our
I guess
purpose?
I guess your question is, who should you ask?
Correct, that, like, I think I'd like to hear from Mr. Yowitz and see what the progress and what interest is happening there. I'd be glad to reach out with a U City official and see what's going on and what their schedule is like. The sellers who are doing the development at Plant Haven. I'm always interested in Mr. Clackner, who operates Olivet Lanes, what is he hearing? What is the interest there? Or individual businesses in our industrial parks. Just to invite them here or via Zoom, like we did with Mr. Sansone and just have a Q&A with him.
Actually, you kind of touched on something. I recently became a member of the Creve Coeur Olivet Chamber. Went to the meeting there just this past month. And they had a State of the Cities presentation by Olivet and one by Creve Coeur. And I thought it was very enlightening. I kind of knew what was going on in Olivet being on this commission, but it was interesting to hear what was going on in Creve Coeur. And, you mentioned reaching out to U City. I know that we've tried to do some things, a joint overlay, opportunity zone or something in district within the 170 corridor years ago. Didn't really go anywhere because we went our separate ways, but be interesting to see what they, especially the neighboring cities, see what they have on the agenda that we might be able to partnership with or add to. That may be something too.
So I can reach out and see what I can schedule in the next couple of months on that.
I mean, it'd be interesting to hear from all kinds of businesses. But if our purpose is to hear about, our purpose as a community, as our commission is strictly about economic development, then don't we want to, then I would think we'd be interested in people who are investing in our community.
I think, investing or decided to run their business in our community. Like, why would you open up hypothetically, right?
An ice cream shop. for
An ice
example.
cream shop, for example, in the, like, why did you choose Olivet versus somewhere else? And then I think what our motivation is building a narrative that we can share more broadly. So I was joking when I said put his face on a billboard, but the idea that a sandstone is saying essentially of all the markets we're in, Olivet is the best that we've ever developed in, or something else that I'll make up that I'll scribble into a quote, but building that narrative from a developer, from a business owner, from a retailer, like
Mhm.
all these people are saying the same thing about this city, and it's all extremely positive.
Sure,
That I think is the goal of
That's-
what we're
that's
trying to accomplish.
wonderful, yeah.
Do we have Doug, why am I so forgetful tonight? The
Doug Cohen.
developer, yes, Doug Cohen, thank you. Is he going to speak with us?
What's he
I can
developing?
invite him.
Yeah, he's developing those townhomes. up
Oh,
in
he
Doug-
is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Sorry.
I'm pointing the wrong direction, but yeah, I'm inside the building now, so my bearings
That
are
one?
off over there.
Oh, the ones across,
Mhm.
The
Over there.
townhomes
Okay,
across the street,
gotcha.
yeah.
I was
So,
thinking
glad to
behind
invite him.
CVS.
Auto Beauty Specialists had a good story,
Yes.
as well. I know it's changed hands, but it used to be the gallery at ISC. Is
Mhm.
it still called that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, he sold that?
Yes,
That was,
it's Virginia Tile now.
Virginia Tile, but be interesting to see, what their take on, having a large regional distributorship for tile out of this area.
Oh, I'm thinking of something else. Sorry.
Anger. Is that his name?
I was thinking about
Who was,
literally the gallery.
oh, the gallery, okay. No, it's-
The Coco. The art gallery.
Yeah, the guy that sells art. but-
Mhm. He's another thought because he's
Yeah.
adding an
I was like,
addition.
isn't
Oh,
he
he is?
For a
expanding?
long
Yeah.
time. It was Sanger, right? Was
Harold Sanger,
yeah,
he was mayor.
He was
Clayton.
Mayor Clayton, yeah.
It would be good if we had someone like a Michael Sansone who covers development. You have someone covering retail and someone covering industrial. And we had
Well, don't
three,
ask John Pennington about industrial, I'm just saying.
I don't know who that is,
That's
but
okay.
three different voices that share the same
Mm-hmm.
narrative that Olivet is the place to be. Like that, I think we can develop that marketing message from three
Absolutely.
different independent groups saying the same thing. Then the next time someone comes to ask us for money, we're like, listen, this is great, we appreciate, but this is how other people have responded when doing work in this city. And it's all very favorable, so maybe you don't need what you're asking for.
Yes, but specifically the Sandstone project and the large retail development projects that are both being done by the same person. Both of those projects had incentives.
Right,
So sure, they're gonna say good things. We gave them
Wow.
money.
Well, not always. Sitting from my former seat, no.
but some of these are
going
getting done at market, right? We're not incentivizing every project that's going on now.
Right. But I was
But
just talking about the
the-
three
the
categories
sum
we're
of-
talking about, like.
Well, I'm saying like someone that's doing retail that maybe isn't Yowitz, someone else that's opened up retail, and it's 314 Sports Cars, my favorite shop in town, or the Olivet Diner, or somewhere else
So the
that's,
Firestone would be a good one.
That would
or
be.
Firestone, because that wasn't incentivized.
Correct.
And someone in the industrial complex that says, listen, I love having my factory here, whatever happens back
Murphy?
there.
Murphy
Murphy
would
used
a
to
good
be,
one.
One that just moved, is, I forget their name. They're right across here where the old town and tennis used to be. They moved,
Was it like a cable company? that moved in?
no, it's a cabinetry and marble business.
Oh, cool.
That did a hefty investment in that building. Western. Yeah.
Well, in the call center.
Mhm.
even Olivey / Honeywell /
Whatever it's called.
Intercontinental, yeah, it's been sold a couple of times.
Yep.
It's heavy industrial.
You know who else has purchased and invested is Fortune Fish. Bought the old Deerberg Floral place and they moved all of their distribution there. They purchased a company called Euro Gourmet, combined them, And they're in that huge warehouse in Bowers, isn't that us?
On
still?
Bowers?
Yeah, that's still us,
yeah,
or is
that's-
that Creve Coeur?
that's
Your
unincorporated.
Creve Coeur.
Oh, sorry.
That's sold?
Well, I don't know if they bought the building, but they moved into it. I don't know how that went. I don't know what the arrangement was.
It's in the, you know,
Sorry, I thought that
It's
was us.
just outside the line.
I apologize. Never mind.
all right.
All right, well, that's
Sounds great.
actually, great to flesh out that strategy a little bit more to just
It
have
helps me.
that ongoing, good discussion point for us at each meeting. Okay, okay, 5-year economic update. Carlos, did you have any?
Yeah, just a couple of graphs, demographic data, because as we are going into updating our comprehensive plan, we'll be collecting and improving a lot of our collection of data, and there was a couple of things. Just to kind of note, we had 57 merchant businesses that obtained licenses and all of that, and that means that they're solely retail.
Renewed necessarily.
Correct.
Okay.
It renewed, and there, of that, if you look at the bottom of the table on the left, 2 had over 15 million in sales. And then I just kind of provided a breakdown, in their core of the group is in that 2 to 2.5 to 5 million in sales.
That's a lot, that's a lot of baseball cards.
I make up most of that. Spend. And their soccer cards. That's what I'm into. Thank you.
So we're starting to get into the licensing data. Don will be putting a lot of the information together in there. And then we also are looking at the census data so we get a better understanding of our population. And what you see here on the right, this was presented at the chamber meeting, but you can see the diversity of all of that. And there, the interesting component of this is the Asian population, which is shown in gray. If you see all of that compared to the, which is 16.7% of Asian heritage, where the Ladue School District is 12.3 and county is 4.5. So you see that concentration,
Oh, I see what we're looking at now.
our
Okay.
investments in that. And when we had these public meetings on the indoor medical cannabis facilities, it was pretty impressive to see just the diversity of the population.
There was a
That was in
diverse
attendance.
bunch in there? that
Yes.
was- Okay, good to know.
So
I love this chart.
I do too.
This is great.
I do too.
I really like it. I like that how diverse our community is.
For sure.
I really do love that about all of it.
Don, you have anything
Hi, Don.
in addition?
If you strip out Olivet from the Ladue School District, it's like one bar. So,
Yeah.
That would be an interesting assessment, but I also do like this graph, and it's fairly telling about our community. It was I was really glad to see Rod there at the Creve Coeur Olivet Chamber. It was a good meeting. It was Chief Wolf's, or not Chief Wolf, sorry. And I'm blanking. So a
Councilperson
former chief.
Knox, who we can't call
Thank
chief
you.
anymore. Yes.
Oh, yep. Council member Knox gave the speech, and he did very well. It was a good crowd to cut his teeth on.
What did he do?
The,
He made
Gave,
this state
the
of
state of
idiot.
Oh, he was in the city at the chamber meeting?
Mhm.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I just couldn't hear all of you.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's difficult to hear you guys as well. So I
Sorry.
apologize. Thank you. Other than that, I don't have anything to add.
And that was what we had for the 5-year.
Okay, I haven't heard from Nate in a while. Nate, you still with us? You have anything to say, just chime in.
I will. I'm good.
Okay, good. All right, and just other business right now. We have some meeting minutes.
I did not have
That's
a
all right.
chance to prepare the meeting minutes from the last meeting. And so my apologies on that one. So that those will be.
We'll hit it next month.
And any city staff reports, liaison
Just
and
A
commissioner
couple of
reports?
things, just so you guys can see, they're starting on that third dimension up at the Oliver. It's really looking nice.
Wait, which,
The,
where are you looking at?
This is gonna be the upper left-hand corner.
Okay, what are they, what is that?
So
going on there?
this, the gray concrete structure, which
Mhm.
is 5 levels, is the stairway enclosure. Because again, or part of the elevator shaft, because they're fire rated, so it's.
Where is that?
That's there at.
All right,
where-
Carlos, I think you said the
Oh,
Oliver.
oh, you said
Yeah,
Oliver,
okay.
said Oliver, and I was.
Oh, sorry
I
about
was-
that.
I was a little confused. No, I'm with you now. Okay, I'm on, that is the largest crane I've ever seen, by the way. The other day I drove by there and there was this
It's gonna be interesting
ginormous
tomorrow.
red thing in the dirt. I'm like, oh my goodness.
So they're
That's
gonna
big.
use that to bring in the panels for the garage, and that is gonna go up quickly.
Wow,
Probably
it was
within a week
big,
you'll see.
big.
Actually,
That's-
if you, they did the same thing at Delmar and 170.
Yes, I saw
Yeah,
that the other
yeah.
day. I'm like,
Yeah,
holy
that's,
mackerel,
that went
that's
up
big.
quickly too. It's
Mhm.
precast concrete, so it's
Yep.
cool.
Yeah,
Pretty
that
cool.
will
All
be
right,
simple.
sorry to interrupt. I was
So,
confused.
yeah, no problem. And they started on the first level framing, and those are all panelized panels that are coming in. So we're gonna start seeing a lot of activity on the site. They'll be working on the road on the Price Road side of getting their entrance there, which is right directly from Price Crossing on there. Removing my little thing here. You saw the furniture's been added at Firestone. They're still operating on a temporary occupancy. They still have a couple other items that they need to fix and improve, and there'll be a flagpole as part of the plaza that they created there at the corner.
Did they put a fountain back in?
It's like a rock garden, a rock water.
There is a
Feature.
water feature.
Mhm.
Okay.
This is the interior of Plant Haven. As you can see, they have the mezzanine roofs in there, and that's moving pretty well. They're doing the tenant finishes on the eastern half of the building. That's where Plant Haven will actually be located.
What is that?
Plant Haven?
Uh-huh.
The lady that would open the temporary tent on the bowling alley and
Uh-huh.
sell plants.
Right?
That's her business. That's called Plant Haven. And they got two,
Retail.
retail
establishments,
locations,
yes.
one in Oakville and then one out in O'Fallon, I think. And
So
then-
will this building sell plants?
Yes,
Gotcha.
only a portion of it, probably about 5,000 square feet on
Okay.
the western side. She'll have an outdoor area and she'll have seasonal plants, and
Oh, very cool.
And,
Okay.
Yeah, she said.
And then she's renting out the others to other businesses.
that is correct.
Got it. Okay.
Actually, she's an Olivet resident.
Mhm.
And I've been to the one down in Oakville, and it's, this one is, architecturally much. nicer.
Well, it's
I- I
pretty
have to
interesting.
say.
Very
So-
interesting.
Okay, here, at the lower left corner, this is the gallery, the art gallery, like you were referring to.
Oh, okay. Got it.
There's that old one-story building that used to be a hair salon.
Mhm.
That's getting torn down, and he's building an addition, expanding the gallery and some of his offices.
Oh, really?
Now, he's not really a gallery where you can go in and like
Correct.
shop.
More
It's very,
publisher.
very specific to whom he sells and what he represents. But
Oh,
will this
interesting.
space have any kind of
I don't know.
public
I don't think it
viewing?
would be
Because it's some really cool art he's got in there.
Awesome.
Really
That's
cool.
great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm happy he's doing that. I'm sure he's one of those higher earning businesses at the, maybe not at the top, but I'm sure he sells.
Well,
many
just
shades
his
of-
visibility alone.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's beautiful.
selfishly from a city standpoint, and
very-
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be
pretty
lovely.
and coming into the gateway.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
That's all I have, just in general updates on development activity. Mr. Cohen continues in there. They should start doing demolitions across the street, hopefully within the next couple of months. You can see most of them, they're doing the asbestos abatement.
How many townhomes is he putting in there?
He has 35 from the initial plan. That might get adjusted once it gets refined.
Wow,
All
okay.
the homes have been vacated.
All but one. I think the
Very
second,
last.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, not the last one, the one right before that. And then he still needs to close on that one. He's got it under contract. It's just closing. Amazing.
Right, so, Councilman Carl.
Let's see, there will be coffee with the mayor on July 13th. The guest will be Chief Andreski. And she will talk about our new body worn cameras. There is Olivet Night Out on Wednesday, August 31st. So if you'd like to get your neighborhood together, or we'll have a neighborhood gathering, let us know. We'll be glad to have people from the city stop by. There are two open commission vacancies. Not recommending you leave EDC, but the Parks Commission and the Housing Authority each have an opening. You can sign up for consideration on the website. Let's see. The park renovations, the community center right now looks like it's going to be, originally we were hoping to open it around the first of the year. It looks like it may be delayed a couple of months, obviously just due to construction things. Won't get into the details here. And I think that's all I have. So thank you, unless you have any questions for me. Nope.
Just one of the things you mentioned, construction delays, that sort of thing. One thing I learned, I think it was at the Creve Coeur Olivet Amber meeting. You notice the interchange at Lindbergh. and
Yeah, what's
all
up
of
with
his-
that?
Well, apparently they're waiting on parts for stoplights,
Yeah, that is actually true. Switching signals.
you know.
The intersection at Highway 40 and 14th Street, that light was out for months
I
while they
think maybe
waited.
we talked about this
Yeah.
last meeting. That's what.
Yeah, and you know what? The next time I went, it was
The bane of my existence. I have to go down there every day.
better now.
Yeah.
It could have been higher.
It could have been higher. Oh my good, that is something else.
Well, with that, if anybody has anything.
I have
else,
one
they would-
final
Sure.
comment. This is not related to EDC, but I do want to make, put on the public record that this year's turkey trot will feature the Springer Cup, which is named after Jeff and Ruth Springer. We have secured Clayton, Ladue, and U City to have their cross-country teams come and run, starting the turkey trot race before the general public. And they're all going to be racing to win the Springer Cup. So this
Just-
year's going to be.
just
So
those
you're now the
kids.
chairman of this event.
I am, because Jeff had to move to New York.
Yeah.
So no, it could be any high school. I'm trying to get as many high schools.
But it's the kids, it's not
It's
the public that would
No,
be running.
it's
for
just
race.
the
So it's just a
runners.
Fun thing, right?
Yeah, totally fun thing. But we've given, because Jeff was the former chairman of this commission, we've named the race after the Springer family for all they've done for the city. So we're really excited about that. So everyone
great.
should come out to the turkey trot. There's again going to be 5 different breweries serving, and now we have tons of vodka from last year.
See, that's what.
It's going to be a debacle. We ruin many Thanksgivings every year. and We're very proud of it. Thank
Actually,
you.
that's what my usual participation there hasn't been for the last couple of years, but usually it's pouring beer for people finishing.
I would like to
Yes.
participate in that, Joe.
You are welcome to volunteer. We accept every and all volunteers, and it's usually a very good time. But the Springer Cup, that's the new addition for
That's great.
those.
As long as I don't have
following-
to actually run, I'm in.
No, serve.
I'm here to serve.
Councilman Carl was often there, very early.
Yes, because I haven't gone to bed yet. That's.
That was my only public comment.
All right. No other
No.
public comments, no other questions, answers, concerns, questions.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you in person, sir.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you for
right.
coming.
With that, we are adjourned.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.